So, yeah, that's a new thing where it says the meeting is being recorded. I think that's good thing to do. So, welcome. I'm not actually going to give you my bio. I'm a big time author and I'm a wonderful human being. So that's it. And if you want to know more or you agree with that, you can go to my website and find out about my books and my writing works and all that kind of thing, and how to hook up with me in other settings and places if that's something you want to do. But I have a lot of material I want to share with you, and it's going to be a significant amount of writing time tonight so you could practice. And I will be opening up for questions. And the questions can be related to what I am presenting tonight, because I would like you to leave with a clear, I'm going to give you a formula tonight, you could say. So I want you to leave with a sense of being able to use this formula. Also, Kara will send it to you in an email, a follow-up email. And I'm just going to send you my notes to myself, and it's basically, the technique that I'm talking about tonight. So I want you to leave with that. But if you have questions about anything else in terms of your writing life, please feel free to, bring those out tonight as well. So I am going to share a process with you, formula process, and I'm going to read something from my 0-point agreement book that uses it as an example, one of many, of course. I use this process a lot. One story that is an example of using this formula. And it's titled Baptized as a Meaning Maker. I use the quote from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. This process of beginning with our own experience and using it to verify the teachings and the teachers is quite important. One could say, in fact, that this is the only way to open us. That's His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And here's my story. I chose to be baptized at the age of 13, more than 40 years ago. It's more than that now. I did this with a progressive Lutheran minister as my teacher. He instructed me to read and study the New Testament on my own, and then asked me questions about it at our meetings. He knew I wanted to be baptized since this was not offered to me through my family. And I admit that at the time I had some concern about the afterlife if I was not baptized. After several months of study, the minister and I got together one Saturday for my baptism. I sat in the room as he shared a few prayers and some doctrine with me. Then he got up to retrieve the holy water that I would be baptized with. I sat in anticipation. I felt ready. He re-entered the room carrying a little bowl of water. When he saw the eager, expectant look on my face, he said to me, "It's only tap water, Julie." And then he said a few prayers over me and baptized me. Only tap water. Somehow for me, this only tap water generated a more meaningful entrance into a new way of being than if it had been sanctified water. The threshold I passed through inside my heart was profound. I began to understand how everything is just tap water. I started to become my own meaning maker. I would stumble quite a bit along the way, but here I began with a larger map of the world, a map that showed me that we sanctify water or other objects with the meaning we consign to them. All water can be holy water. So that's just a little example of using this technique that I'm going to share with you. So fictionalizing is a skill that, when used well, can add to the story while still keeping it true. Or what sometimes sometimes could be used as what we call bots, based on a true story or event. We are bringing out the meaning and the truth of the story and not so much pushing the facts. So in my larger class, like Right by the Light, I teach more about how we identify the truth in our story and let go of the facts. I mean, facts are more like the background, where truth is more of the full blossoming story. We are describing our life experiences in creative and meaningful ways. As Mark Doty writes in The Art of Description, one of my favorite books, his quote is, "Description is an art. To the degree that it gives us not just the world, but the inner life of the witness. Description is an art to the degree that it gives us not just the world, but the inner life of the witness, your inner life. You're the writer, you're the witness. We use our imaginations and memory and trust our experiences even more deeply as we listen to past experiences. So this is important to know. It's all memory. Everything we're writing is memory. Everything that's autobiographical, writing from our life, it's all memory. So therefore, it's all using the imagination. So I have twins I'm working with. I've shared this story sometimes in other classes where they're writing their story, they're writing their history, and they're taking pivotal moments in their life. They kind of give it a title like when they got caught smoking cigarettes. And they both go write their story, and they come together, and their stories are very different, but they both were in the same experience, right? They're both telling the truth. They both have a lot of dramatic differences in their story. And actually, this is what's going to be powerful about that particular book is people are going to read one twins version and then the other one. And it's like, well, whose story is the facts? Well, of course, again, the only fact that they share in a lot of these stories is something along the lines of they both got caught for smoking cigarettes, and then everything else is kind of up for grabs. So it's a beautiful display and invitation to for us to just focus on what our experiences are, what our memories are, what our imaginations remember. So we use our imaginations and memories to trust our experience. You can't say though, however, that you met Bob Dylan. Do you remember what book that was? Some guy wrote about, and he said he met Bob Dylan. He met all these, and then Bob Dylan came out and said, "No, you didn't." It was a really fun book to read, but it was about imagination or something. But he lied about all these people he met. So you can't really come out and say you met, Bob Dylan or you met this person or that person when you didn't. Okay, but you can share the experience that is meaningful to you and make it meaningful to the reader. So we don't need to encounter Bob Dylan. We don't, even that reader, he had something to share, some kind of truth or emotional experience to share with us. And he didn't have to lie about meeting Bob Dylan. He could have shared everything else and left that out. But I'm not inviting you to lie about the facts, the known, facts. So it's about how we remember, not not that we have to remember it a certain way. I'm going to say that again. It's about how we remember, not that we have to remember it in a certain way. So I want you to practice this. Choose an encounter from today, or at least really recent. Another one pops out. Go ahead and pick that one. Or you can just use the simple process of getting up this morning and getting out of the house. Okay, so that can be your scene or your moment that you're going to write about. You can pick another encounter or scene if you want. So take a moment right now and choose one. And then I simply want you to describe it just as if it's a scene in a movie. Give us all the details and descriptions that you can. Don't worry about being creative or anything like that. Just get into describing it. I got up, I got coffee. If you're using the getting up out of bed and heading out the door. And then you can include anything you want about this experience. Include anything that comes up or pops up. As you write it, include one lie, one fictionalized piece. Basically, it will be like one line. Just throw in one lie, something that's not true. This can be an encounter, it can be somebody who showed up, it can be an emotion. The lie can be a physical experience as simple as eating rye toast instead of the usual wheat toast. It can be you were happy to see your brother when you were not happy to see him. So it can be anything, but one little piece that's a lie. So make something happen that didn't actually happen. One simple thing, one simple line. All right, any questions about this? Okay, I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to write. All right. Don't forget to put in that lie. And take another minute to start finishing up. But letting the writing always take you where it takes you. Never stop something if it's starting to happen. Don't let, oh my God, this isn't what Julie wants me to do, ever stop you from writing. Then go ahead and finish up that last line or thought for now. If you find the writing is taking you somewhere else, jot a few notes down to yourself so you can come back to that if you want. I always say, let the writing take you where it takes you, or the writing prompts take you where they take you. Don't try to force anything. That's not discipline, by the way, that's forcing. Sitting down and writing and just letting it take you where it takes you, no, that's discipline. All right, so would one or two people like to read theirs, but I don't want you to share what the fictionalized piece is. I want you to read it just as if that one line that's a lie or fictionalized is part of the true story. Okay, thank you. That was very helpful. I could not tell the fictionalized place yet. So everyone, what I'd like you to do is look at what you fictionalize and circle that line. And then I want you to consider, and this will segue into a writing prompt, is what is important about this line? How does it reflect something that you wanted or didn't want? What might it say about the meaning of this scene? I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat. That will help. What might it say about the meaning of this scene for you and the reason you chose this particular lie? This lie is often a sign of some underlying truth. I was going to say always is, but I just have to leave that, a little wiggle room because that, there are no always. But this lie is often a sign of some underlying truth about you or what you are trying to write about. So, for those of who read, if you want, would you share now what was not true? So, Susan, the one line that was not true.
It's kind of a little bit two of them, but I lied about the type of dog, the Great Dane. It's too big.
Okay, all right. And what was the other one? And what was the other one?
That I love walking the dog whenever they want to go out.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. All right. And Joan, what was yours?
The line was, we know that his father, Chris, wouldn't have minded that we gave it to him because it felt good.
Oh, good one. Good one. Good one. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to put this in the chat so you can also read it and give you a little time to journal again. the importance is to write about our truth. So this is part of what we're getting at. Again, we don't want to lie in a nonfiction about the facts, like we met Bob Dylan, or it was a mansion when it was a cottage, but the cottage might have felt like a mansion, so it might end up becoming part of our truth. But we can draw out the truth in the story by adding a lie and then later identifying the truth in the lie. So again, take a few moments to journal about what is important about this line? What might it reveal to you? How does it reflect something you wanted or didn't want? What might it say about the meaning of this scene for you and the reason you chose this particular lie? Again, this lie is often a sign of some underlying truth about you or what you are trying to write about. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to journal about that. Another way to frame this is take a few moments to write about how this lie was or might be meaningful to you, how it might reflect the truth. So that kind of simplifies it a little bit. I'm putting that in the chat as well. Just take a little bit more time to take notes on how this lie was or might be meaningful to you, what it might reflect, how it might reflect the truth. And then go ahead and finish that up for now. So because writing and remembering are always engaging the imagination, we want to allow ourselves to remember the events and pivotal moments in our own ways. Okay. A lot of people trip up when they're writing anything autobiographical. And I believe all writing to some degree is autobiographical. We're always writing from our life somehow, even if it's just from our psyche, but we're writing from our interests, we're writing from our history, we're writing from some knowledge and experience we've had. And in some cases it's more autobiographical than in other cases, but it's really about trusting ourselves and trusting our memory, and then really trusting our imaginations, and not getting caught up in what the facts are or were, and can I trust my memory? Am I making it up? Yeah, you're making it all up, actually. To some degree you're making it all up because it's not happening right now. It was happening, even what happened this morning, you're using your imagination to bring it together and to recall things. And your imagination and your perspective are witnessing something different than I would be in that same scene. So anyone who hasn't shared yet want to share what they journaled about. If you don't, I'm asking you to read your journaling piece about what the lie meant to you, or what it revealed to you, what it might have revealed to you. Anyone, you can just pop up your hand if you want. So if it was strictly autobiographical and you used that, but you still wanted to use the dog farting while walking down the stairs instead of just walking down the stairs to bring out that truth of how much joy your dog brings to you, I imagine that your dog has farted going down the stairs, right? So I want everybody to remember that it doesn't have to have happened in the moment. you know, for you to use it in that particular scene. If it's not falsifying the entire scene, right? You know, so the fact that, you know, yep, the dog probably farted going down the stairs, but maybe not this morning. She can use that in her story and keep it completely true story. And it is funny, right? I mean, it does point to something more. Okay, thank you. So in our writing, we want to identify the theme of your subject. In all our writing, we basically want to identify the theme. So that one YouTube through the Oregon Library memoir writing really focuses on identifying your subject and identifying your theme. So a subject is like golfing, and then the theme is something along the lines of the spiritual mastery of golfing. So the theme is more personal, close in. So it's really important for you to identify the themes of your subject, the themes of what you're writing about. And I'm not going to go into that anymore tonight. So, you know, refer to that one YouTube if you like. But what is a theme that you find comes up in your life? So this is what I want you to contemplate for tonight. What is a theme that comes up in your life, or that you find of value, or that is big in your life now? It could be grieving a loved one. Maybe you're somebody who's had lots of grief or lots of loss in your life, so that's kind of a theme. It could be healing from a religious abuse. It could be how gardening is spiritual. It could be fear of the future or regret of the past. Abusive boyfriends could be a theme. So just think in terms of some things. Is there some kind of theme that's either been noticeable to you lately that's come up, or themes that come up, you know, through have come up throughout your life? So there, all my books share some thematic thread, including my nonfiction with my fiction. So these themes come up on all genres of our writing. So do you get the idea? To consider a theme that is active in your mind and in your life, and write it down. So just I'm going to give you a couple minutes to identify a theme. Does anybody have any question about that? I don't see anybody. Okay, so go ahead and identify one theme for now. And then what I'm going to have you practice is you've named a theme. Does anybody not have one or need help with one? Or, you know, it could be something along the lines of some of the things that we're experiencing as you know, collectively experiencing, like coming out of COVID. You know, what theme has come up for you being isolated or something like that? But everybody seems to have one. I don't see anybody with a raised hand or anything. Okay. Kara, what's your theme? Do you have one? Would you mind, or you don't want to share it? Okay, that's fine. Sorry. Good. Well, good. You found a good juicy one or close in one there. Okay. All right. So everybody has a theme. So I want you to name your theme and then make a list of at least 3 pivotal moments, 3 memories from your life that are expressions of this theme or encounters with this theme. So you've named your theme, make a list of just 3, name 3 pivotal moments, which are also memories from your life that are expressions of this theme. So I believe we're all meaning makers, and that's a theme throughout my life, is that we make meaning from life. Meaning isn't told to us, whether it's by religion, by our parents. You know, we are here to figure out the meaning in our life. That's a theme in my life. It doesn't have to be yours. You don't have to agree with me. But one of the story I shared tonight about being baptized by the Lutheran minister is one of my pivotal moments, one of my personal stories that goes along with that theme. In my fiction, the only way my protagonist can figure out who she is, the power she has within her, is to start figuring out things for herself, is to start making meaning for herself. I'm just giving you an example. I'll give you another minute here. If you come up with more than 3, go for it. You know, just write that list, but at least 3 if you can. All right, so now what I'm going to have you do is take one of the pivotal moments. You can circle it. You can kind of start another page, write the title of the pivotal moment, like so mine being baptized by tap water, at the top of the page, and begin to write out that scene, that pivotal moment, that memory, like you did the one we just did earlier. Add at least one lie, but you can add more. But at least one lie, one false line. And then just describe that scene again, just write out as much as you can about that pivotal moment. Now, this is a meaningful experience to you. It's related to a theme in your life. It's one of your pivotal moments or memories that you're connecting to that theme. So just write down everything you can remember about it, including internal and external experiences. So that's emotional and mental and physical. Who or what you might have encountered, where you were, the scene, and of course, what happened? What happened that made it pivotal? And I'll give you 3 minutes to write. 3 short minutes. Try not to edit anything. It's better to put it all down. You can always take out stuff later. And go ahead and finish up that line, that thought. Leave a note for yourself if you know there's more there and you want to remember. We're going to continue writing though. So what I want you to do now is, so this is like the quick down and dirty version, right? You're going to, when you, after tonight, you're going to, you can stretch this out, you know, and write longer. Or you can do the speed, you know, speed writing like this, kind of like speed dating, I guess. You know, you still come out with a piece, you know, that you've written. So what I'd like you to do is draw out what you want to have happened, exaggerating that, or exaggerating what you didn't want and emphasizing that instead. So just kind of writing a note to yourself right now. Say, this is what I really wanted to have happen, or I wish had happened. I want you to exaggerate that somehow, you know, how might that be? Or exaggerating what you didn't want to happen, emphasizing that. Maybe emphasizing what you got instead of what you wanted. So first, name and journal about either what happened that you did want to have happen and how this was beautiful or an awful thing, or name what didn't happen that you wish had happened, or yeah, did happen. I'm gonna write that, and then write about that. I'm gonna put this in the chat. So you're kind of naming and identifying. Name and journal about either what happened that you did want to have happen and how this was a beautiful or awful thing, or name what didn't happen that you wish had happened and are relieved. That's supposed to be relieved didn't happen. Then write about that.
Julie, do we do this now or later?
Oh yeah, no, now, yes. Just take a
Okay.
few moments to start. I know this is all just kind of starting. Like I said, it's a little bit like speed dating, speed writing. So I want to give you the whole process tonight. When you're doing this alone at home, and you can do this alone at home, you may contemplate this. I might just sit and contemplate, what did I really want to have happen here? You know, or what happened that I'm, you know, that I'm really glad about. That was a beautiful thing. And I'm going to write about that. Exactly. So I might contemplate it first and then bring it into the story. But I just want you to journal a little bit about either what happened that you wanted to have happened and how that might be exaggerated. Consider how you might bring that out more. So like with the tap water, it was like, I've written another version of that story where I really shared with the reader how I really thought I might go to hell if I didn't get baptized. So I was really covering my bases, you know. And then it just all turned out to be tap water. So, and then what happened was really better than what I wanted to have happen. So it's getting the skill of asking yourself in these scenes of your life, and I'm going to share how all these can become completely fictionalized if you want, or you maintain the truth. You change the lies into the truth, and they are not, they're autobiographical, so and they're nonfiction. So, but to be able to contemplate in this scene, in this pivotal moment, what was it I wanted? Did I get what I wanted? Or did I get what I didn't want? Because those elements are important to a story. Is that helpful? Was that helpful? Okay, so now what you do is you pick one physical reality in the story and you write about that. So I'm going to go ahead and take a couple minutes. So for example, a chair, a large man, the dog, a roaring river, tap water, the door in and out, a sleeping cat, the smell or a sound. Choose one physical piece of that pivotal moment and just take a minute here to give it more detail by itself, like describing it. What's something intricate that you can share about it? I was thinking about when with the tap water, that the water was full. It was the bowl, and it was filled right up to the top with water. So I mean, in the first version, I wrote out a lot more of the details of the bowl and the water. So choose one. And write as much as you can about that physical reality in a little bit more time here. And that's a good thing to do with all scenes, all pivotal moments, all, best word is, memory, is to pick out some physical element of it. And it's probably not an accident which one you picked out. It's probably important to that story. And the next step you're actually going to do after class, we're going to take you through it and kind of take you then how to use this whole process. Again, in all my methods, you can still, tweak it and apply your own, methodology to it, your own approach, your own way of doing it. I would play with this a few times before you change it to just see how this works. And again, part of it can be more contemplative than actual journaling. It is a really good question to ask about what this scene, what is it you wanted to have happen in this scene, or what you didn't want to have happen and did. That's at least good to contemplate, if not write about. So now when you rewrite the story using what you wrote about the physical object, bring that, you're going to rewrite the story, you're going to bring in that physical object, bring that into the scene. You're also going to bring in into the final story what it is you wanted or didn't want. All right. Can you somehow show us this, what you wanted or didn't want? One way to do this is share how you were feeling in your body, or what you saw and how you reacted to what you saw or experienced. Kind of like I did with, what I wanted was to be baptized so I could just cover my bases and get into heaven. And then, so I expected a spiritual, holy experience. I expected holy water, So, and of course, my first version of that pivotal moment was a lot longer. But I can take that story and use it in different ways at different times. And I've used it in more than one book. So just play around with it. So you're going to, in your rewrite again, you're going to bring in the physical object more. You're going to draw on that. You're going to bring that into the story more. You're also going to somehow weave into the story what you wanted or didn't want. How can you bring that into the story? Then you're going to take all this is written out, and we're going to send this to you too. Then take the lie or lies and somehow bring that into the final draft of your story or scene or your pivotal moment and develop it. If you can, somehow make it reflect the truth of this story. Do that, play with it, explore that. Or for now, leave it as a lie. But I want you to circle your lies. Always circle your lies when you do this practice. Circle your lies, because you're going to come back to them, and you're either going to use it to focus in on something and bring out the truth, reflect on what you wanted. Or if you're going to keep it fictionalized, you're going to use that lie to further develop that scene without worrying about changing the lie or taking out the lie. But for now, leave it as is. Just circle it for later, the lies, to either take out or to change into the version of truth that it holds. But do write about it. If this is going to be an autobiographical fiction, you can keep the lie and develop that further in more fictional ways. If it's going to be nonfiction, you develop the meaning of the lie in your piece. Why this lie came up, And again, like I've said before, the lie usually points to some inner truth. And there really you have a complete piece. Then you're done. You have a complete piece, the first draft of your piece, your story. And then you get to decide what you want to do with it. Do you want to keep going with the fiction? Then you get to keep putting in lies. You get to get developing lies. If you, but you still want the core to be autobiographical. You can do that. You can go big, if you're turning it into fiction, or you can do what like we did with the farting dog going down the stairs. It doesn't, it is the truth. It didn't happen in that particular scene, but many times the dog is farted going down the stairs, so you can use it in that scene. So there you have a complete piece. You can do this as often as you like, or create your own version of this method that works for you. You might find that, a shorter version, or I don't really want to explore what it was I really wanted in this scene or what I didn't want to have happen. Although the reason I emphasize that is that's where the tension is. You hear about writing and tension, how important tension is and conflict is. The conflict is in that memory, you either got something you wanted and you want more of it, or you're going back to that memory because there's something there that's really meaningful in that way, or you didn't want it. And so there lies some conflict or tension, maybe not conflict, but at least tension in what you wanted or didn't want. For the road, afterwards, what I would invite you to do is find a quote or a poem that matches with the theme or images or message of this particular piece. Remember, you started with, what you'll do is you'll always go back to your pivotal moments that are thematic and write about those. So you just kind of go back and you go, okay, I'm going to write the next pivotal moment or next memory on this theme. And go through this process that I just shared. So find a quote or poem that matches with the theme or images or message of this piece or these pieces, and lead or end with that quote. And you have a complete essay, or you have a complete short story, or you have a complete scene or a blog. All right, so there's about 10 minutes left, a little less than that. Opening up to questions. And again, I invite you to ask anything about tonight's process. I hope it was helpful. Again, let yourself do it how you do it, whatever works for you. And then if you have any questions about anything else around fictionalizing your writing or writing in general, I'm here to answer your questions. So just raise your hand. And will we stop the recording then? Okay.